companies been here, and the attitude of the student also not, encouraging at all. And so I think we need to. The fact is that some of these programs, check other universities. There's nothing happening in other universities that are better than here. That is a fact. You see, because you are within the system, we are quick to say, Tech, Lagos, UCC, UE. The truth, if those of you who have got friends, please check. Nothing better is taking place over there than here. In fact, some of the things that we do here do not, and some even copy us. But we are not taking advantage. Yes, the only thing is that 70 years, 60 years, 50 years, compared to 12 years. So maybe the environment, are not the same. But we are all together building it. So please, let's take advantage. Let us not wait for someone to state that the registrar is taking attendance before you come. I hope next time we will all come. Let please change as we are striving to help you and also try and help yourself. Having said this, I want to thank you. Let's pay attention and listen attentively to our preacher, who I'm sure you've introduced, is the best professor, when it comes to professor in energy, the entire country, he is the best. No, that's a fact. So we are fortunate. The fact is that when we are working with someone, in terms of energy, Professor, he's the one. The entire country, count. There's no any other professor in, energy who is come near his qualities. So you have someone like this coming to give a lecture. You rush and listen to it. So I'm happy at least you've known. And I'm happy that, looking at your faces and smiling, it means you are ready to listen to him. Thank you very much for asking.
Thank you very much, VC, for accepting to chair this function for us. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, we need to know why, the purpose for which we are here. It is true that this is part of the Registrar'S Office monthly presentation series. But today we have opened it up. So there should be a reason, there should be a purpose. I remember in the Bible, Jesus asked someone, "My brother, why are you here?" The registrar will be in the shoes of Jesus today to tell us why we are here and why this meeting is important. Shall we welcome Dr. Mrs. Georgina Asi Owusu, the registrar of the university, to tell us why we are here. Registrar, welcome.
Thank you very much, Reverend. The Vice Chancellor, Professor Elvis Asaribediakun, Co-Vice Chancellor, Engineer Professor Nanasafu Adjemandechi, Deans, Directors, Heads of Departments here and present, the Chairperson and members of the Registrar'S Office Presentation Series, our friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and a warm welcome to you all. Good morning. Are we hungry? Okay, so thank you all for coming. The Vice Chancellor has said that this topic will be treated again as a public lecture, which is a good thing. And let me also add that the Registrar'S Office, we do monthly presentations, and we look at issues about the Registrar'S Office. We address them. But once in a while, we get topics too that we think is of relevance to the entire university community, and we open up to the university community. As part of the Registrar'S Office presentation series, We have invited the university community to today's presentation on the topic, Driving Institutional Excellence Through Energy Efficiency. And the purpose of this gathering is to raise awareness on the importance of energy efficiency in our daily operations, share best practices and strategies for reducing energy consumption, discuss ways to promote a culture of sustainability within the university, and foster collaboration and collective responsibility in driving institutional excellence. By coming together, we aim to inspire a sense of ownership and accountability among members of the university community, and to explore ways to make our institution a model of sustainability and efficiency. Since I'm not the presenter, I'll keep it very short. I urge you all to relax, enjoy the presentation, and make it a point to learn one thing before you leave here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Registrar. Now, there is the opportunity for us to relax and enjoy this cultural display.
Oh, to flow. Professor Samuel Jemfi leads the way majestically, guiding us to the future. He studies demand on humans, from Ghana's fields to Europe's stage. His project crosses both land and age. Oh, it's short. That is just to break the iceberg. Prof, today is your day, so I would stand right before you and give you your praise. From humans' fields, he shows what he is capable of. As I said, from Ghana's field all the way to Europe's stage. Indeed, he is a great man. Efficiency whispers, use less, save more. Let us use less and save more. As we do, we save energy, and with energy's promise, Prof will guide us today. So please, let us learn. Let us see the future of what energy holds for us today. It is within you. It is within you, and even me. So with the pleasure of being here today, I stand with my hand on my chest to introduce to you this great man why we are all gathered here today, Professor Samuel Jemfi. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause to him. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For such a wonderful presentation from Ghana's fields to Europe's field or platform. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, before we introduce the speaker for the day, we have a team from the MPA who would use 30 minutes after the presentation to talk to us about LPG, safety and accidents. As part of the team, we have the regional manager, the Bono regional manager with us, Mr. Joseph Kwame Jan. Shall we welcome him. We also have the supervisor, Gas Directorate, Engineer Johnson Babo Jr. And then we have staff of MPA, Bono Regional Office, Sunyani. Unfortunately, his name didn't appear here. There are many. Oh, okay. Another staff. Okay. I thought you were only 3. Okay. So you are all welcome. Wherever you are, can we see you? Your hand. Oh, okay. Wow. Thank you very much for making it to this program. Shall we now invite Dr. John Kwesi Annan to introduce the speaker for the occasion for us.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Since Registrar has already laid the foundation for the protocol, I would like to firmly stand on it and do this briefly. Today, our speaker is an associate professor, not the kind of professor that we battle on social media, but this one is a full associate professor that is accredited and authenticated in the Department of Renewable Energy Engineering of this university. He's a certified sustainable energy management professional. He's currently the acting director of RCs. He's also the head of Department for Renewable Energy Engineering of this university. He's held so many positions in this university and even beyond. He was one time the Dean of Student Affairs, that is in August 2017 to 2019. He was also the acting head of the Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering Department from 2015 to 2017. This professor we are talking about was a lecturer in the School of Engineering and Information Technology at Murdoch University in Western Australia from 2011 to 2014. He held research associate positions at the Advanced Energy and Material Systems Laboratory at the University of Canterbury, New Zealand, from 2010 to 2011. In 2007 to 2008, he was a visiting lecturer and scientist at the Jülich Research Center in Germany, where he was involved in energy demand side management and demand response modeling. This professor has a lot of projects, both in Ghana and the world beyond. European Union, Chinese government, German, and even the World Bank. He has projects there. This professor has a PhD in mechanical engineering, specializing in residential electricity demand, response assessment and modeling from the University of Canterbury, New Zealand. He has a MSc in energy systems from the Aachen University of Applied Sciences in Germany. He had his bachelor's degree in geodetic engineering from the KNUST in 2001. His main research interest is in utility demand side management and how human factors can be used to develop technology and communication systems to improve energy efficiency behaviors. With a non-anemic applause, shall we welcome Professor Samuel Gyamfi. Prof. Let's continue to clap as he mounts the podium. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, MC and VC, the registrar, the Pro VC, and all my colleagues. This, I think, VC has already mentioned, we've been back and forth with this for almost half a year, and today it has happened. So I would like to thank the Registrar's Office for making it possible. they contacted me to share some perspectives in terms of energy efficiency and how you can use that, to drive institutional excellence. And, energy, I think most of us are aware that energy is a problem, but we don't know why we've captured energy as one of the SDGs. In fact, if you talk globally, in terms of the challenges that we have to resolve, I think we are all aware that we have about 16 challenges, from health, education, poverty, gender issues, and energy has been captured right in there. Okay, so we have about 16 challenges, and you know that the SDGs are 17. And the 17th goal tells us how we can resolve all these challenges by forming partnerships. And that is why this presentation is very, very important, how we can come together and try and resolve the issues that we have. Now, in terms of the topic, I have some outline that I would like to share with you. First of all, I would like to share with you why energy is a problem from the global stage to Ghana, and then we'll move on to how it has been captured in the SDGs. And in fact, in the SDGs, in any of all the SDGs, SDG from 1 to 6, to 16, for each of them, we have in the SDGs, especially in the SDG Sustainable Education, it captures how we can resolve each of the SDGs. When we are here teaching, what we are supposed to teach the students in each of the SDGs is being captured. So if you are here and you are teaching and you are not referring to what you have to impact in your students, then you have to go back and refer to that. In fact, in all fields. And so I will look at energy efficiency, why it is very, very important. Look at some case studies in Ghana and also abroad, and then come back here to INE in terms of what we can do to improve energy efficiency on campus, and of course, not only University of Energy and Natural Resources campus. What we can do here applies to almost all tertiary institutions, and of course also commercial facilities and industrial facilities as well. And then I will conclude. Now, so in terms of global stage, energy demand has been growing and growing and growing. And this growth is being impacted on by population growth and also our aspiration to be rich. So GDP is also affecting that. And of course, if you come to Ghana, what is driving energy demand is also urbanization, and very, very important is also high temperatures. In Ghana, Ghana is very unique. High temperatures and installation of air conditioners are driving energy demand very, very, very high. And if you look at projections in terms of up to the year 2050, demand is expected to grow by about 15% from that of 2021. And especially in the residential sector, demand is sort of going to decline a bit. But industrial sector and other sectors, and especially electricity generation, demand is expected to grow in those sectors. Now, we look at how we have been meeting this demand in the past. And if you look at the graph there, you can see the fuel sources that we are using to meet global global energy demand. We have nuclear energy, renewable energy, and fossil fuels. And as you can see, in 2023, fossil fuels provided about 80% of our global energy demand. So when we talk about energy supply and energy demand, I will use the terms interchangeably because they are almost the same. The difference is that when you are supplying, then by the time it gets to the demand side, you have some losses. So the losses is just the difference between demand and supply. Otherwise, you will be looking at the same numbers. Oh, what is happening? Okay. All right. Now, if we look at from the year 2010, the year 1973 to the year 2023, you can see that in the year 1973, just when I was about to be born, you can see the energy demand was about 6,150 million tons of oil equivalent. When we say tons of oil equivalent, it's higher unit of energy. And then in the year 2023, we have about 14,000 tons of oil equivalent. And now, this is a growth of about a factor of about 7. In fact, energy demand has been growing at a constant rate. Now, the demand is growing at about around 1.4, 1.5% globally. Previously, it was growing by about 2%. Now, when something is growing at near a constant, value over a period of time, then that thing will be growing exponentially. And if you look at the doubling time of that, I looked at the doubling time over the about 30 to 35 years. So every 30 to 35 years, our global energy demand will double. And when it's doubling, we need to be able to supply that. Now what is the issue with this? We have substantial share of our energy demand being met from fossil fuels. So that is an issue because this is also contributing to our global CO2 emissions. And as you can see, the global CO2 emissions has been increasing in exponential order or exponential rate. And if you look at percentage change in CO2 emissions, you can see that, in fact, in 2023, which is the recent change that you can find at the tail end, it's the lowest among all the changes. Possibly, it's only, higher than when we were in the World War I and also during the Great Depression. So this change, apart from COVID, has also been driven by high increase in solar PV penetration in our energy use and also nuclear energy, and especially electric vehicles and heat pumps. And these technologies are kind of driving down the emission levels. And this is a good thing. And as we move on into the future, I think these technologies will continue to future and will avert some of the emissions. Now, so apart from emissions that we are experiencing, high emission growth, we also have issues with oil supply, if you want so. So if you look at past and projected oil supply or oil wells that were dug, you will see that, in fact, in the past, most of the wells were dug in the Middle East. In other words, our oil was being supplied from Middle East, and which is still the case, from Saudi Arabia, from Kuwait, Iran, Alaska, which is the US. And of course, if you look at the percentages, you see that about 66% of our global oil is coming from just one region, just the Middle East. And that poses a very, very severe energy security challenge for all of us. So if one day oil supply from the east to the west is interrupted, what do you think will happen? There will be a big issue. So I asked this question in an exams, MSc exams, and a student wrote about 4 pages And at the end of the day, he wrote in capital letters that there will be no bread in the shelves to buy. So this is a big issue. And so energy security, when we say and we talk about energy security, we have to be mindful of this. Now, another thing is that if you go to the Shell website and BP, British Petroleum website, and you try to read what they have there, they always tell us that, oh, we will find more oil. Oil is not a challenge. You know, we are producing some from Alaska. We'll get some from Mexico and so on. Now, if you look at what we are producing now, in fact, the discoveries in recent time, and we compare that to what was discovered in the past, in the wells, you can see that, in fact, the recent one, the significant one is that of the Gulf of Mexico. And if you put that in the same graph, or on the same graph as what we discovered in the past and actually produced, you can see that that is very, very small. And if you put that of Ghana on this scale, you might not even see it. So they give us hope, but we have to be mindful of the fact that we have already reached the peak oil, and production has started to decline. When production starts to decline, it increases prices, as we are seeing and seeing every day. Now, one issue that is very, very important, and it should be a concern to all of us, is the range of availability of resources, if you like, reserves. All the reserves, oil reserves that we've been able to account for, that we are sure they are there, we can produce with the given technology, current given technologies. If you look at the reserves, and you divide the reserves by the production, the rate at which we are producing these resources, then we have what we call reserve to production ratio. And that reserve to production ratio tells us how long our oil reserves are going to last, how long our coal reserves are going to last, how long our natural gas reserves are going to last. So if you look at it, oil is going to last us roughly for about the next 60 years, okay? And then natural gas, also about 50 years, and coal, of course, much longer. What it means is that in about 60 years from now, there will be, if you like, no oil. If you just look at the static range, you just divide the reserves by the production. Of course, we also have dynamic range where you take other factors into account. But here I'm talking about just the static range of availability. Now, why is this very, very important in our planning? If you look at the share of transport in global oil demand and then the share of oil in global transport demand, there's a difference between the two. Now, if we talk about the share of oil in global transport demand, we are looking at the red bar, the red curve. Now, currently, our transportation system depends almost entirely on oil, about 90% on oil. That is what it means. So if oil supply or the range of availability that we are talking about, even some estimates put it at 20 years. In 20 years' time, there will be no oil. But our transportation system depends on oil. So what do? Even up to the year 2050, you know, our transportation system would depend about 50% on oil. Now, what it means is that we have to innovate. We, the universities, we have to innovate, come up with what? New alternatives, alternative fuels that we can use to replace oil. And not only that, we need to also come up with new engines that will be able to run on the alternative fuel. And this is a big challenge. And that is why when we talk about energy is a big issue for all of us. And if you look at the blue one tells us that the oil that we take from the ground, about half is used in transportation. And our transportation system also depends entirely on oil. So this is another challenge that we have to resolve. Now, if you move from energy as a whole to just electrical energy, then you can also see that our electricity is being produced more or less from fossil fuels. Close to 70% is from fossil fuels. Currently, we are doing about 60% in terms of 2023. Now, the other issue that we have as far as energy is concerned, because we are trying to resolve the problem somehow, okay? We are trying to resolve the environmental challenges, and we are advocating for the use of EVs and things like that. Now, the EVs are also driving electricity demand. Now, demand from 2023 to 2025 is projected to increase from about 2.5 to about 4%, increase by that percentage. And that is huge, and this has to be produced so that we will be able to have, to be able to run the activities that we run, activities that we use energy for, and so on. And this demand, in fact, if you look at China and India, the percentage rise in electricity demand is even much higher compared to the global one. Now, when you come to Ghana, Ghana is one of the countries that is doing very well in Africa in terms of energy access. You know, population at 2021, about 30.8 million, national electricity access rate of 88.8%, national household electricity access rate of about 86%, and then, you know, energy consumption per person is about 700 kilowatt hour per person per year. And that is expected to increase to about 1,300 kilowatt hours per person per year by the year 2030. Now, in fact, energy, why we talk about the expectation is that if you don't have energy, you can't do much. If you get up in the morning and you do not eat your cocoa, or by 12 p.m. you are tired. And it's the same. If you don't have energy, you are not able to drive your economic growth and all that. So that is why we think that in Ghana we need more energy to be able to prosper as a country. Now, in terms of how we have been producing, if you take electrical energy, for instance, in the past we used to rely a lot on hydro, and this has been changing. In recent times, we are relying more and more and more on thermal energy. Now, what it means is that this comes along with high prices because you have to import these fuels. And these high prices are normally transferred to consumers, and that is why we have energy prices increasing in the country. Now, if you take from electrical energy, if you take energy, all the energy sources, we also depend a lot on biomass, wood fuels and things like that for cooking and things like that. That also come along with some challenges in terms of particle emissions and so on and so forth. Now, in terms of demand, residential sector is contributing significantly to our energy demand, the same as industrial sector and the service sector. And in fact, residential sector used to consume almost half of what we used to produce in 2014, 2004 thereabout. Now, it's just about 40%. Okay, so it's very distributed. Now, one issue that we have in the country is the losses in our electricity sector. Now, the energy that we generate from the generators, Akosombo and so on and so forth, Buidam, okay, about 27% ends up in losses, okay, and that is very huge. And this losses, somebody has to pay for it, I mean, which is also a problem for us. Apart from, if you look at the purchase, amount of electricity that was purchased by the distribution companies, we are talking about ECG and NETCO, and you look at the amount that they are able to deliver to consumers, you realize that about 27.23% end up in losses, both commercial and technical losses. Okay? Well, when we talk about technical losses, we are talking about the losses that ends up in the line as in the form of heat, and commercial losses are losses that are due to meter tampering and all the other things. People are bypassing meters and things like that, and that is also, contributing to the losses. Now, one other issue that we have in our energy sector in Ghana is the use of inefficient end-use systems, inefficient appliances. In fact, we have, Energy Commission has come up with a legislation instrument that, nobody should import second-hand appliances into the country. And that has been in existence since, I think, the past 10 years or so. But still, if you go along the Fiapre Road, you will see a lot of second-hand appliances, second-hand refrigerators, second-hand air conditioners, and so on and so forth. Now, even it doesn't end there. They also have the power that even if you display them in your shop and you are selling them, they have the power to seize them and destroy them. But, this issue is very dicey, and so they are leaving it as it is. And you still have these appliances on the market. So, in summary, what are the issues that we have in the energy sector? We have supply issue. So supply issues, we are talking about the range of availability of resources. We talk about oil, about 60 years, natural gas, about 50 years, coal, about 130 years. We have issue with security of supply, especially oil. About 66% of our global oil is being produced from the East, from the Middle East. That is posing energy security challenge. We have issue with environmental impact, especially emissions of CO2 and other gases, other greenhouse gases. And of course, population is also growing. Population is growing, we need to produce, and we have issues also at the same time. So, how then do we resolve all these issues? Now, these issues can be resolved if you look at what has been highlighted in the SDG 7. Now, SDGs, if you talk about the global challenges, issues that we have globally, just about 16. Energy is one of them, and it has been captured as SDG 7. And SDG 7 says that to resolve these issues, we need to move away, especially to resolve emission issues, we need to move away from fossil fuels that is currently producing about 80% of our global energy, to renewable energies. Okay? And that is one thing that we need to do. Now, the other thing is to make sure that by the year 2030, we have to ensure universal access to affordable, reliable, and modern energies for all. And that modern energies, we have just two options. The use of renewable energies. And then the third target also look at how we should double the improvement in energy efficiency. Now, we talk about renewable energies and energy efficiency. Now, these are just the two solutions for our global energy challenges. There is no other solution. Okay. Energy efficiency and then what? Renewable energies. Now, both of them can be treated, in fact, energy efficiency can be treated as a resource, the same way that we can treat renewable energy as also a resource, as we will see later. So SDG 7 is mostly what we do, what we teach our students, especially the competencies that we need to build in the students, the knowledge levels that they have to acquire, the skills and the competencies to be able to help us to achieve these targets that we have there as part of the solution to the SDGs. Now, so when we say energy efficiency, what does it mean? Energy efficiency means that doing the same work, or even doing much more work, with less amount of what? Energy. Okay? And that can happen in two ways. Either we improve the technology or we change our behaviors. Two ways. So, if you look at energy efficiency and in terms of what it can do, in fact, energy efficiency is projected to deliver more than 40% of our energy-related greenhouse gas emissions in the next 20 years. And it's very key, and it's been highlighted in almost all the international energy documents, and from International Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change to International Energy Agency. In fact, energy efficiency has been highlighted. And a typical example is the use of LED light. If you are using LED light, okay, in terms of energy consumption, to provide the same illumination, you use less energy, or you need less energy compared to using maybe fluorescent tubes or maybe incandescent light bulb. Now, so we have some numbers here. According to the World Bank, every dollar that is invested in energy efficiency, you can get up to about $5 in return. Now we have in energy, we have something that we teach the students, integrated resource planning. Now integrated resource planning, what it means is that whenever you have a deficit, a gap in your energy demand, you have two ways of meeting that gap. One way is to provide that energy through generation side by investing in generation, maybe Bui Dam or Akosombo, and trying to provide that energy. The other option will be to look at the demand side and look at the option, if it is possible to reduce demand that will match the gap. That is also taken into account. So you have to always, in integrated resource planning, you have to look at your demand side and then your supply side before you take what? You take a decision. Now, if you are able to look at the supply side, then if, for instance, you want to save about a kilowatt hour of energy, the investment that you need to make is just about 0.63 US cents. You can use that to reduce your energy demand by just about one kilowatt hour. Now, if you want to look at the supply side as a solution, then for instance, if you are looking at investing in renewable energies, then you will need about 2 to 8 US cents, okay, to be able to provide that energy. So this is very, very important, and that is what we always tell our students. In Ghana, whenever we have a problem, we say, oh, the president needs to build more power plants. They need to do that. But we can also, on the supply side, we can also achieve a lot, and that will be equivalent to the gap, and we will be able to resolve the issues easily. Now, in low and middle income countries, that are expected, in fact, demand is expected to grow in these low and middle income countries. Energy efficiency is one of the key issues that we have to consider. In fact, if we are looking at our resource planning, especially in terms of integrated resource planning. Now, what it does is that all utilities in this world are looking to do something. And this is what we call load shape objective of utility companies. Now, utilities are not interested in that peak that you see in the middle of the graphs there. They always want to make sure that the peaks are as low as possible so that they can get better utilization of their assets. Now, if the peak is high and they have to deliver energy 24/7, then possibly they have to dimension their infrastructure. Okay, that will be able to meet that peak that happens just maybe 30 minutes in a whole day. They have to dimension the transformer, they have to dimension the generators and so on to a very high numbers, and those numbers come with cost. And so utilities are always interested in bringing down the peak as much as possible. Now, energy efficiency, what it does is that it's able to move the upper curve, down to the lower curve when you talk about the conservation. So if you kind of, I have a refrigerator in my house that is consuming about 700 kilowatt hours per year. And that was bought more than 10 years ago. Now, the same volume, you can get the same volume in terms of space and a refrigerator that will consume just about 200 kilowatt hours, okay, per year. So you can see. So in energy efficiency, what we say is that whenever your appliances or your electrical appliance is about 10 years old, you have to try and replace it. That is the rule of thumb. Whenever an electrical appliance is 10 years old, if you try and you replace it, the savings that you get will be able to pay for the cost maybe in less than 5 years. And we can show you this type of calculations if you are interested. Now, so what do we get as benefit? Benefits that we derive from energy efficiency, we have cost savings. So if we are able to reduce our energy consumption through maybe behavior change or maybe buying new energy efficient equipment, we'll be able to reduce our energy costs that we pay every month. And again, also when it comes to imported fuels, okay, we are talking about oil being imported from somewhere. We will also be able to cut down on that so that we do not spend our GDP for import. And of course, emissions can come down. And of course, we will also be able to, very, very important to me, be able to extend the range of availability of fossil fuels. Because we cannot do you can see that even up to the year 2050, our transportation system will somehow still depend on fossil fuel, about 50%. And therefore, if we use less and less and less amount of energy, we will be able to push that range of availability to maybe 70 years, maybe 80 years. And what that does for us is that it gives our students enough time to be able to innovate, to come up with new fuel types or new options, and also to come up with new engines that will be able to run on those fuels. So energy efficiency will help us to do that. Now, so how do we realize energy efficiency? We have best energy management practices that you can use to improve efficiency. First is that you should be able to take stock of your energy use. So we talk about energy audit. Energy audit is not different from financial audit. Now, when we are doing financial audit or when somebody comes to do financial audit, the idea is not to punish you. The idea is to look for options that are causing some leakages in terms of money and to be able to block those options so that in your subsequent years, you would have a much better performance. The same applies to energy efficiency. Energy audit, if we do, we are looking for options that will help us to reduce our energy demand. Now, we can also put up energy management monitoring in place to be able to see how much we are using, how much we are consuming, and how we can reduce those consumption. And in fact, if you look at employee training and maintenance programs, they are all recommendations that will come from energy audit in terms of what we can do to improve efficiency. Now, most people are not aware. You know, there are people who will tell you that, oh, the second-hand appliances are better than the new ones. Have you not heard it? Yes. But the good thing is that, of course, it used to be because we did not have regulations that were regulating that space. Now, Energy Commission has come up with minimum energy performance standard for about 27 appliances. Now, before you import those appliances into the country, they have to check and make sure that they meet those minimum energy performance standards. So if you are buying a refrigerator on the market now you can be sure that it has been certified that they meet what? This minimum energy performance standard. Now, so let's look at some case studies before we come to UNER. Now, so what has happened in the past? Some case studies of energy efficiency. Now, in the year 2007, the government distributed 6 million incandescent light, 6 million fluorescent tubes. I mean, that was the best technology at the time in place of incandescent light bulbs. And that resulted in peak load saving of about 124 megawatt. When we talk about 124 megawatt, it's just about more than 1/4 of the capacity of Bui Dam. And I don't know how many of you have been to Bui Dam. You will see that huge infrastructure. And just doing this energy efficiency intervention, we are able to achieve about 1/4, more than 1/4 of that capacity. Okay. So what it means is that, assuming there was a gap of just about 100 megawatt, we would have been able to resolve it with this intervention. Just changing our lighting system from incandescent light bulb and replacing that with what? Fluorescent tubes. And of course, it comes also with CO2 savings and other delay in investment. We have delay in thermal generation investment of about $105 million. And that is something that will give you some time. Okay? So if you are having challenges now, financial challenges, and you tackle this issue, it gives you time to be able to plan and make sure that you get those investments later in the future to be able to embark on your investment in the energy sector. Now, we also had refrigerator exchange. So there was a project that was trying to replace old refrigerators with new ones, and they were targeting about 15,000 refrigerators. At the end of the day, they were able to achieve just 10,000. And that project resulted in refrigerator energy use of refrigerators dropping from 1,200 kilowatt hours per year to just about 385 kilowatt hours per year, as I've already mentioned. And of course, in terms of energy savings, about 400 gigawatt hours of electricity was projected to have been saved from that, estimated. And then in terms of CO2 reduction and things like that. And then there's also, those are about Ghana. Now there's also international project. We have some international projects. We have, in energy literature, we have something called California 2020, the perfect storm. You know, one day in 2001, the whole of California went blackout. You know, because of increasing temperatures, because of high temperatures, and they were switching on air conditioners. Temperatures were getting higher, and they resulted in increasing prices. So let's increase prices. But California is a rich city, a rich state, and people were not caring about prices. And demand was increasing. Demand exceeded the available capacity, and the whole system went black. And in fact, when this happened in Ghana here, people will go scot-free. But almost all the CEOs, energy CEOs, lost their jobs, including the mayor and all the people who matter. And to come out of this, they came up with a policy, if you like, called California 2020, that people should reduce their electricity consumption by 20% from that of the previous year and get a 20% discount on their utility bill. So apart from the reduction giving you 20%, you know, you reduce 20%, you get a reduction, and then they will give you on top another 20% reduction. And this is what was used to come out of the program. And so they invested around 350 million. And in terms of capacity savings, what they were able to save from this intervention, about 2,660 megawatt. Okay, this is like twice the Akosombo Dam in terms of the capacity that they were able to save from this intervention. And normally, when you come up with intervention like this, you know, and you go through the problem and you are able to resolve all the challenges, then you can go back to your normal operations. Now, this one is in New Zealand. Now, in New Zealand, they have, in terms of the transmission lines, they have a capacity. In fact, when the transmission lines in Christchurch goes above, you know, capacity, energy on the line goes above 600 megawatt. You know, the line was designed to accommodate just about 600 megawatt. And if you exceed the 600 megawatt, the whole line will melt down. Will melt down. So what they do is that they have come up with what they call ripple controls. Now, before you install any water heating cylinder in Christchurch, that water heating cylinder has to be fitted with a ripple control, okay, so that the utilities can sit in their office and switch it off. So as you can see, the red line here, now at this point, the capacity is just about to be exceeded, okay, and then they activated the ripple controls to switch off water heating cylinders in houses so that they make sure that the demand will just be below the capacity that it has been designed for. So they do that in the morning and then in the evenings. And because of this, they have relaxed. They have not embarked on any new overhaul in terms of transmission, because they can do that without you even seeing what they have done. Because the water heating cylinder, anyway, you have water inside your water heating cylinder. It's hot already. You can even use it for 2 days. And now they are tempering with it just for about 3 hours. You will notice it. And this is what they've been using. And in terms of what they have been able to delay or avoid in terms of millions of dollars in distribution, about $12 million in distribution and $6 million in transmission have been avoided in terms of if they were to provide for this small peak there, they will need that investment. And they've been able to manage that and still be going on. Now, so let's come to UNE, University of Energy and Natural Resources. What can we do? What do we have to do? What are the challenges in the university in terms of energy use? Now, when we talk about energy audit, we are trying to look at options that are available to reduce our energy consumption. So energy audit process, when it's embarked on in the university, should help us to see all the wastages and be able to reduce the energy use and be able to reduce our energy costs and so on. Now, the audit process normally is divided into 3 phases. We have first the audit of historical records, where we take your bills or the bills of the university and analyze that, okay? And then when we analyze that, that can tell us whether the university is wasting energy or not. Because for every university, per square meter of your building space, there's a recommended amount of energy that you are supposed to use. Now, so if we do the audit, and then we realize that the energy used per square meter for this university is much higher above what is recommended, then it tells us that there's an opportunity to reduce energy consumption. Now, when that happens, then we now go around to see why are we using more energy than what has been recommended or what is recommended for universities. So we do what we call walkthrough to try and see obvious energy wastage. We go through the facility to see where energy wastage will be occurring or are occurring. sometimes you move, like the VC said, you move into an office, there's nobody there, the air conditioning is on, okay? There's a light there at the engineering lab, which has been on 24/7, even during the daytime, and these issues. So you go around to observe these issues. And then, once you see that maybe this particular energy consuming system, you think that maybe this is wasting energy, like an old refrigerator that has been there and so on and so forth. You can single that out and do a detailed investigation to try and find out if you are to replace that, how much savings will you be able to make. So this is the audit process. So we have the walkthrough, which here we have added the historical audit and everything and inventory, and then we have data analysis, and of course the performance improvement that you can get. Now, in terms of lighting design is a very big issue. You know, if you have to design light, there's a recommended levels of light for every task. Now, if you can see in this room, now this lighting system has been designed in such a way that if you switch all of them on, now it will go beyond what is recommended for this room. Okay, so the idea was that that is why engineer was able to switch some off. So you can switch some off here, switch some off in the middle, and still have enough light to be able to perform the task that you are supposed to perform in this room. Now, if you switch all of them on at the same time, you'll be wasting what? You'll be wasting energy. So, of course, some of the things that the students have done is also to look at the different energy consuming systems that we are using on campus and how those systems are impacting on our energy consumption. In the media project, we also embark on energy audit to try and see areas where we can save energy. Now, when it comes to lighting, for instance, of course, some areas, if you take this one here is the Works Directorate, the first one on the left. Now, if you look at their washroom does not have the recommended level of light that is needed. Apart from the washroom, the chief assistant estate officer's room somehow is also not meeting what is recommended. But all the other rooms are meeting the recommended levels of light. What is very important is that sometimes you meet the recommended level of light, but you also exceed the last limit that is recommended. Okay? So for each task that you are performing, if you are in a washroom or a school room like here, there's a recommended level of light, which is about 240 lux. Lux is illumination lumen per square meter. Now, if you were to check what we have here, we'll be crossing over to about 1,000. So what it means is that if with proper energy management, in fact, how this room was designed, like this middle light is not needed at the moment. Is that okay? Now, when we have enough daylight, we have to push the blinds up so that we can use the daylight to be able to perform the tasks that we are supposed to perform. Now, also, if you look at here, this is just for the works in terms of their annual energy consumption for the Works Directorate. And that has been increasing year by year. And we have to find out, Deputy Director, why this is the case from the bills that we got. Now, also, we went around to also look at the ACs. Now, these are all works that have been done by students. We went around to look at the ACs, the air conditioners in terms of their rated tons of refrigeration, how well they are performing in terms of cooling capacity, okay? The rated and the actual. And you can see that most of the air conditioners are performing to half of their capacity, especially due to maintenance. Okay? And sometimes you realize that if you are in your office, sometimes the water that is supposed to go out will be coming in your room it means that the duct has been blocked. Is that not it? The air conditioning must be maintained almost every 6 months. Now, when you don't do it and the duct is blocked, you see that the water will be coming inside. That tells you that you need to maintain the air conditioning. So this is a big issue area, one of the areas that we can improve. And also fans, specific energy use for fans in terms of rated and then the actual. So, in fact, the fans in terms of their energy use per square meter, you know, it's supposed to be the blue one, and what they are using now is the orange one. Now, so these are just some examples, but if you go around the university, you see a lot of issues. You see lighting systems that are left on 24/7, internal light that are being used when we can use daylight, especially now in this room. We have some of the cables that are rusted, have been rusted, and you see that if you are to use a thermal camera to take, you see that there's no balance in terms of the faces, the three faces that you have. And you have openings in rooms that have air conditioners, so you are cooling the room. You have hot air that is fighting to come in, and then you have like other issues that you can. So we were looking at what we can do in terms of the interventions. What intervention can be put in place to reduce some of the wastage. Now, here are different interventions. If we install LED light as an improvement, or if we install motion sensors, or if we install occupancy sensors. And for each of them, we have savings that we can get. Now, if you, apart from installation of solar PV, which of course will attract a much more higher cost, if you look at other things like motion sensors and so on, you remove PV, then we'll be able to reduce our energy use for this, for just this building by about 30%. Okay, I think this is Odum block also. Now, if you look at the different areas, engineering lab, works and physical development, Yorick, and then the Odum block. You see, Odum block, we can use those interventions to reduce our energy consumption by 30%. Yorick, we can get about 28%. Works and physical department, we can get about 27%. And engineering lab, about 31%. And these are huge in terms of cost reduction. In terms of cost reduction, about 22% in engineering lab, 20% in the physical works department, and Yorick, and of course, Odum block. So these are things that we can easily do. Okay? In terms of behavior modification, they are easy. Okay? Behavior modification, these are technology-wise, but when it comes to behavior modification, making sure that you switch your light off when you are leaving, switch your air conditioning off when you are leaving, these ones will need a bit of education, but of course we can achieve a lot more savings. Now, but despite these savings that we can achieve, still energy efficiency is an issue, so it doesn't come free. Is that not it? I mean, most of us are not aware. So we have issues with information. Now, we need to go around, inform people, educate them about what the potential is in terms of energy use reduction in the university. And of course, some interventions will need financial, some budget. If you have to install motion sensors in this room, so that when you come in, then the light will be on. When everybody leaves, and we even forget to switch the light off, the light will go off by itself. So these things will come with kind of financial support, or it will need some financial commitment. And then we have technical barriers. Technical barriers should not be a problem for a university. Okay? Technical barriers should not be a problem for it. It can be a problem for residential facilities and things like that, but for us, it shouldn't be a problem. And of course, one thing that I would advise is that, I was part of the reason why the hostels are now paying for the students are now paying for their electricity. When I was the dean of students, the electricity was bought for the students. Now we buy for them, and in 1 week, they will finish it, and then they will come again. And then in 1 week, so I sat down and said, no, this shouldn't be the way to go. So Madame Abna, was part of the team, and then we involved the works department, and then we did calculations to show them. Now, the point is that when people are not feeling the impact of what their actions are, they will never change. So we wanted the students to be responsible for their energy use so that they will be responsible to reduce their energy consumption. And so we came up with that. So if you see that the university students are now paying, it's as a result of that intervention. So we sat down, came up with a calculation, and then we showed them that this is what they have to do. And now they started doing it. And now I'm sure that the students are still paying for their own utility. And in that way, you make them responsible for what? For their action. So if they are not making sure that they switch off things when they are coming to the university campus for lectures, and that will also be felt in their pockets. So, just to conclude, these are some of the interventions that we are making here at the university. Now, we need some form of a policy to be able to drive this energy efficiency on UNER campus. Okay, so now we have developed energy policy for the university. The Vice Chancellor commissioned us, tasked us to do that, and then we've been able to do that. It has gone through stakeholder engagement, consultations, and now we are revising it where we had inputs and so on and so forth. And very soon it will be ready. Now, key in that policy document is energy efficiency and the role that it can play in managing the energy consumption of the university. And of course, there are also some interventions like rooftop solar. There have been proposals in that space, rooftop solar, and also proposals in terms of agrivoltaics, also making it possible to have energy delivered from solar PV, and also to help us to be able to do some kind of agriculture in that space. So, to conclude, this presentation highlights the critical role of energy efficiency in transforming energy consumption pattern. Through adoption of energy efficiency technologies, behavior changes, and supportive policies, we can achieve significant cost savings, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and of course, enhance energy security. Now, as we move forward, a collective commitment to energy efficiency practices will be pivotal in addressing UNER's energy challenges. And of course, let's take action now, actionable steps today to create a more energy efficient and sustainable future. Now, to conclude, I would like to say that energy efficiency is an aid in reducing the environmental impact of burning fossil fuels, as you've seen. Energy efficiency is a tool to develop smart ways of managing our finite resources. Either we are talking about 60 years, 100 years, or 200 years. One day, our fossil fuel resources will be exhausted. Now, if we embark on energy efficiency, it will push that range, okay, more into the future, and it will give us option or some space to be able to plan. Now, the last, energy efficiency is a bridge to develop clean fuel technologies and renewable energy resources. And on that note, I would like to say thank you very much for your time and your attention. And then let me acknowledge my team. You see, we've put out here, it wasn't easy, a lot of statistics, a lot of data that needed to be repackaged, and so on and so forth. So I would like to thank my team, Emmanuel, Esuyama, Matthew, Felix, and of course, George. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Jemfi, for the presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, shall we give Prof another round of applause? I now understand why the VC said he's number one when it comes to energy in Ghana. Thank you, Prof. Jemfi. It's time for question and answers. So, Prof, and then let me give you this microphone. Thank you very much. So if you have any question, you raise up your hands. I'll give you the microphone to ask your question. But Prof, as we wait for the questions, can I personally take an energy audit in my home and bring it for assessment? All right. Jamra, then I'll come to Cephas.
All right. Thank you very much, Prof. My question is, how long should we on or off light when we are leaving our offices or the air condition? Maybe I'm leaving the office to discuss something with my head, maybe for just about 5 minutes. Do I need to off the lights, the air condition, the fans, and then when I come back, I just switch them on again? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Prof, my question is, you talked about energy, renewable energy and energy efficiency. What about energy mix? Because people talk about, the cost of renewable energy. When you talk about energy mix, you're looking at different, sources of energy, including fossil fuel. Is that not a possible, or a holistic idea instead of trying to move it entirely to, renewable?
Thank you. Last two for the first batch.
Okay. Prof, thank you very much for your perspective and the insights. Considering that as institutions, we are pushing for renewable energy, more or less, and then also targeting that fossil fuel and its environmental impacts. The adoption of these, more or less, these technologies, and then how do we go about it so that it doesn't end up, in terms of the afterlife of these resources, it doesn't also end up undermining the gains considering environmental sustainability? Then also in another sphere, what mechanisms can we put in place, considering that there are some hidden costs, manufacturing, mining, for these renewable energies, so that they don't become overly expensive compared to what you are currently using to ensure that there's adoption?
Right, thank you. Cephas.
Prof, thank you very much for the presentation. Please, there was this particular slide where you showed a couple of graphs, and then for each graph, there was a peak. I believe the horizontal was the time. Please, it's quite obvious that because there's always a concentration, there's a concentration of activities, there's the peak. And so I want to find out that to conserve energy, wouldn't you encourage maybe shift systems or maybe distributed maybe loading, such that maybe shift systems, people don't always concentrate at a place at a given time, but probably there are shifts. So maybe it even fits in with working at home concept and others where maybe instead of everybody coming to work at the same time and then we're all picking in the night, everybody goes to sleep. Maybe you can encourage systems where there's workflow throughout the day of 24 hours. Thank you.
24-hour economy. Eh? All right, Prof. So,
okay, thank you. I will start with the first one. Yes, that is true. I don't know who asked us for all of us to start work at the same time, put our children to school at the same time, come and sleep at the same time, eat breakfast at the same time, eat dinner at the same time. I don't know the history behind that. But, I mean, if you go to some countries, they are changing that. In Denmark, for instance, schools don't start at the same time. Some will start at 10, some will start at midday, and some will start at different times. So that everybody will not wake up at the same time, prepare coffee, breakfast at the same time, and so on and so forth. So that is, I did not go through all the strategies. I just looked at the efficiency part. We had sales graphs, and each of them is talking about something different. So shifting system is one of the things that are being considered in other countries, so that the peak will not happen at just one time, so that you have kind of flat load that will give the utilities better utilization of the asset. So that is done, and I just came from Europe. My daughter was telling me that the whole year she has just 2 appointments in the company, and the company has supported her to set up an office in her apartment. So she used to rent 2 bedrooms, and now they supported her to rent 3 bedrooms, and she's using 1 bedroom as an office. And so the difference was paid by the company, so that she doesn't travel all the way, waste energy and everything to go to Düsseldorf to go and work, come back. You see? So things are happening at a different rate in different places. And we are beginning, so we can learn from some of these interventions. In fact, this was taught us by COVID. So we are now having opportunity to change the way we do things. And then there was a question about energy mix. Now, energy mix is very, very important. Now, when we talk about, we don't have just one solution to the problem. We talk about renewable energies, okay? And I also talked about the fact that we need to work hard to extend the range of availability of fossil fuels, okay? That has to be part of the energy mix, so that we can push the range far away to about 100 years. And by 100 years, I'm sure that students here would have come up with solutions. Is that not it? So energy mix is very, very important. All the energy sources are very, very important. But we have to realize that at a certain point in time, the fossil fuels will be no more. And therefore, we need to start planning for that. About how long do we have to switch off our appliances when we are leaving? I mean, given the time that we will spend outside, that was the question. Now, it depends. Some of these modern energy consuming systems, like the LED lights, they do not produce a lot of heat. Is that okay? So when you are moving out of your office for about 30 minutes, you can even decide to switch them off. But if you have systems that will give a lot of heat, in other words, it will need a lot of time for it to come to temperature to be able to produce the optimum or deliver the services to the optimum capacity, then you may need to look at that. So for ACs, for instance, if you are moving out for just 30 minutes, I will not recommend. But when you close from work, or you are going for a meeting for about 2 hours, 1 hour, I will recommend that you switch it off, and when you come back, then you switch it back on. And then the last one was about hidden cost of some of the renewable energies in terms of how we produce, I mean, the things that we use to manufacture those renewable energies. Of course, when we're talking about the cost, we take all those things into account in terms of life cycle assessment. So we do life cycle assessment. So when we are talking about investment that you need to make, in terms of also producing these systems, we take all of them into account, from how the resources are taken from the ground until their final disposal, and we have costs that are associated with each activity or each stream. We take all those into account in our estimate. Okay, I think I've answered all the questions. Okay.
Yes, Prof.
Thank you.
So the next batch.
Thank you, Prof. In UNE, I know we pride ourselves as an energy and natural resource university wherever we go, on international stage and everywhere. But as an energy expert and a professor, do you think what we teach the students in terms of renewable energy, we practice that in UNE? Thank you.
Okay. All right. All right, thanks for this opportunity. Here is a scenario, the preamble. The world today is looking at reducing its carbon footprint. So, talking about the adoption of renewable energy, this call implies the use of more rare earth minerals and its materials, which requires further mining. And mining, we all know, is a key contributor to carbon emissions. So, how do we unpack this situation? Thank you.
This is a national science and maths quiz question.
Okay, so thank you, Prof. If you can throw more light on the stars, on various electrical and also electronic appliances. Then you spoke about the second hand. So what is your recommendation if somebody wants to buy a fridge, a second-hand fridge costing 5,000, and the same brand, new, 20,000?
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I want to commend Professor for this wonderful presentation. Previously, I used to work with the Energy Commission, and so some of the policies we enacted, he made reference to them. But I want to find out, as the university community, what policy proposals have you sent to government? What have you done? What recommendations have you done? I want to know, especially to government, maybe through Energy Commission or through the Ministry of Energy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. That was an excellent presentation. We are lay people, so when we are building our homes, we talk, sometimes we invite the electricians to look at it. Sometimes we say we want light here, we want light, because we don't understand. But I'm wondering why the experts will put more light in a room than is needed, like this room that you talked about.
Prof, you want? Okay.
Let me start with the registrar's question. So we have more lights here than is needed because some of them are supposed to be redundant, okay, to extend the working life of the lighting system. So for instance, it's possible, you have to give some room for the operations of the light in terms of what will be needed. So if, for instance, a task is being performed here, we have a desk here, and then we are performing a task here. It is possible to switch on just the lighting system here in front so that we'll be able to perform the task. And that can also be done also in the middle and also at the back. Now, if the whole room is being used, you can, do away with the lighting system in the middle and possibly also at the back. Now, what that does is that it extends the working life of the lighting system. So if this one is supposed to work maybe 700 hours, as a lifetime, okay? And at one point it was on, at one point it wasn't that one, but it was the other one. Okay. Now that is part of the design. The other option will be just to stick to your needs and use it, and once it goes off, then you replace. When you are replacing, you also need some financial commitment in terms of labor and so on and so forth. That's why we take such issues into account when we are doing the lighting design. Now, to come to the minerals that we will dig, and then we'll take the resources from the ground and so on and so forth. Now, what we are doing now is not different. We are also digging, taking fossil fuels. And on top of that, fossil fuels are also what? Causing issues with regards to our climate. Now, I did not present here the emissions and the range of stabilization scenarios that we have. Now, we have stabilization. So we've heard that during the Paris Agreement, we are supposed to maintain our global average temperature to about 1.5 degrees C. And that comes from that stabilization scenario. Now, if we burn all the coal, oil, and gas that we have beneath the ground now, if we are to burn them, now, in terms of stabilization that we need, that is not in any of the stabilization scenarios. That will mean possibly the end of the world for us. If we burn everything now, temperatures will go beyond 8 degrees C. You understand? So we are already causing the problem. So let's do away with one of them that is causing two problems. You understand? Which is the fossil fuels. We are digging them, causing the pollution or the environmental in terms of ground pollution and things like that. And also the air pollution at the same time. Okay, so that answers your question. Now, the second one, the last one, our last but one, is the second-hand fridge. In terms of the cost, you know, the cost, let me tell you, the cost of any energy-consuming system in terms of the efficiency is factored into the cost. So the more stars you have, the more expensive the appliance will be. Because the energy efficiency follows what we call the law of marginal returns. As you cut down, any additional reduction that you want to do will need more expenses. That is why most advanced countries are now partnering with developing countries to reduce our emissions, because it is very expensive to reduce it there, especially when it comes to helping us to install clean energy systems, for instance. Now, if a clean energy system is installed in Germany, okay, it will be more expensive as compared to possibly installing it in Ghana. Now, they are already advanced in terms of efficiency, and they need more money to be able to cut down on to improve efficiency. Here we are just down there. Is that okay? So any small intervention, we can save a lot. And if we are talking about reducing global emissions, it doesn't matter if it is reduced in Ghana or reduced in Germany or reduced in the US. And that is why in the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, there were 3 or 4 flexible mechanisms that allows projects that could have been done in the US to be done in Africa, and then they will get credit for it. Okay, so because we are talking about global issues. So that is it. In terms of the stars, every star comes with cost. Okay, now in terms of purchasing cost, it might be expensive at the beginning, but if you are able to purchase it or to buy it, if you are able to buy it, over time, you'll be able to cut down on your energy costs. Energy efficiency equipment now, the payback period, some of them are just around 5 years with our current utility tariffs that we have. So they are good. They are good, Prof. Okay. All right. So I think that is all. Yes, in terms of what we are doing as a university. Yes. Policy proposals. Yes. I think that is something that we have to be doing more. In fact, what they do, I was among the panel that the the minister put together. You know, when the Minister of Energy went for vetting, you know, there were a lot of proposals that were put forward by him. And after that, he sent a proposal to, there's an NGO called a foreign NGO dealing with energy policy close to the airport. So to call all stakeholders to look into the proposals and to advise him as to which ones will be feasible. The discussion has just been published. I think I share it with you, Prof. Yes. So in terms of, I mean, in our capacity as a university, we are called upon in such situations. And in Ghana's energy policy document, let me tell you, in terms of handling of solar PV at the end of its life, you find it in the policy. That came from Prof. Dechi during the during the stakeholder engagement. So we are doing a lot, and so in terms of possibly maybe we have to maybe come up with something, package, and send it to the ministry. But in terms of engaging us as a university, they do. All right. Thank you very much. The student that we teach, whether we practice what we teach them as a university. So I know what you mean. You want to see more solar PV on campus. Yeah, so those things come with costs. And as some of the things that the VC is trying to embark on, and we need to support him. Very soon, if we are successful, you know, agrivoltaic project is far advanced, and we are still pushing, and maybe he will speak to that. So we are aware of that. But in terms of the capacity, the students that we train, in terms of their contribution on the national stage, I can assure you that they are doing so well. You know, they are doing so well. In fact, UNE is one of the universities that students, once they come out, in terms of energy, they are able to work straight. Other universities will need further training, but our students are able to work straight away. So that one, I can assure you, we are doing very well. Thank you.
Prof, you want to ask a question? Okay, I'll come back. I'll come and end here. So, yeah, Bafo.
Prof, thank you for your good presentation. My question is, what are the best practices for monitoring and maintaining energy saving systems in the university setting, as well as how can we promote the culture of sustainability among students and staff? And the second one is, you spoke about the fossil fuel. There is a debate among energy policy makers and advisors, as well as those in the area of energy law, talking about it that the country needs to, the world is looking at net zero emissions, and they are targeting fossil fuel. And what they are bringing up is that to them, they feel some policy makers, they feel that targeting fossil fuel is a way the West wants to control sub-Saharan African countries that are now discovering this fossil fuel, like Guyana, what they did recently. So what's your take on that?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Prof. My question is on the 60-year projection for fossil fuel. I know we have explorations ongoing, and I want to know whether the projection takes into consideration possible new discoveries, or your projection was based on existing wells only?
Best way to go. And UNE is renewable and energy university. I want to find out, I'm not a member of this university, but I want to find out if we have, for example, a structure at UNE that is solely powered by a renewable source of energy. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. I realize that everything is all about questions, but mine will not be a question, but just a contribution to what Prof has been saying. And this is just to add up to the answers that Prof gave to Mr. Jamra, because I think air conditioning issues are a major issue, even if you are looking at it in this university, because if you look at the energy consumption in terms of the shares, you recognize that air conditioning is one of the areas that we can achieve a lot of improvement in those areas. Now, if you look at the science of thermal comfort and then psychometrics, you recognize that thermal comfort zones for people usually is within temperatures of 20 to 27 centigrade and relative humidity of 40 to 60%. Meaning that when you are within these conditions, you don't need any external sources like HVAC systems to be able to provide you with any cooling or heating applications. Now, one thing that we see in this university is that what it means is that at certain conditions, you could use evaporative, you could open your windows, you can do all those kind of things to be able to still meet those requirements. But even if you want to use the air conditioning, one thing that we have seen is that you enter into somebody's office, the temperature is around 18 centigrade. But you can still maintain the same thermal comfort as around 25, 26 centigrade. And 1 degree increase in the temperature can achieve, if you look at the energy reduction in a year, could be about 5%. So the idea will be that we need to have also a lot of more of education, because people think that, okay, when you are within this range, then it's a problem. But globally, if you look at this thermal comfort range that I was talking about, it works for about 95% of people. It's only about 5% of people that maybe it might not apply to. So if we're able to do some of these things, I think that it will go a long way to also help us to reduce the kind of energy consumption that we have. And I think that the last thing that Prof also mentioned in terms of our students, that they are also doing a lot. They are also doing a lot of things out there, because one thing is that even if you ask Bui Power Authority, they will tell you what our students are doing. Even at KN University, the professors that are there, when they need energy students or for national service, they run to us. So we have good people here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The last question.
Yeah, thank you. I think mine is also a form of contribution. Following what Honorable Clayford asked, Prof, when I joined UNE in 2017, you and your team, you were making a lot of these solar panels. Some few homes that I was privileged to dedicate, I saw that some of them were even using some of these solar panels to power their light bulbs. But now you are not doing it. So if you say your students are doing well, I'm a bit surprised, because I'm sure by now a lot of staff members have been building. So can't we introduce this again and maybe preach the message of using these solar panels to power bulbs and other low efficient energies in the homes? Then on Dr. Prince's question, I think he was sounding more environmental. On these second-hand electrical gadgets like refrigerators and these irons that we use, please, it might be inexpensive today, but tomorrow it will be more expensive, particularly those of us who have children. You enter certain homes now, the refrigerator, the way it is sounding. I ask myself, are the children having sound sleep? That is one. Two, they are releasing certain toxic substances into the room, especially if it is poorly ventilated. And so they are inhaling some of these toxic substances, which can bioaccumulate and tomorrow cause a lot of health problems, such as chlorofluorocarbons and other freons. as it enters the human system, it is going to cause challenges later. So let's think about the health implication of some of these second-hand electrical gadgets and be informed to go for the higher stars energy materials. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Ben. Prof, my question, can I still do the audit and bring it for assessment?
Now, yeah, so energy audit for your house can easily be done. And we can train you to be able to do that for your house. And so we have 3 training packages that we do as part of the National Energy Efficiency Drive. You know, we are part of 3 institutions that have been set up by the Energy Commission to train people on energy efficiency. So we do 3 programs, or 3 courses, if you like. We have energy audit, which is one of them. Now, once you come and you get a certificate as a professional energy auditor, yeah, you'll be able to do an energy audit for your house easily. And you can also practice it. You get a stamp. You get a stamp from the Energy Commission. You can apply for jobs, and you'll be able to stamp on it when you are done and submit it and get money out of it. So we have that, and we also have energy management professional, and then we have also energy audit practical. These are 3 courses that you can do with us here at UNE. The other places that you can do this, apart from the University of Energy and Natural Resources, is KNUST and also Accra Technical University. These are 2 other places that you can do that on the at the national level. Okay, so that said, in terms of installation of solar PVs, yes, you are right. I was at the forefront in the installation of solar PVs in the country. And as I stand here, you know, in fact, I have visited almost all the island communities. You know, sat in boats, crossed the rivers, you know, stayed there, you know, ate with them and give them energy interventions and then return. And we were doing that as part of a project, China South-South Cooperation Project. So we installed, I think, around 2,000 or so, 2,000 air conditioners, and then also solar street lights, and a lot of solar home systems across the country. And so we got to a point that we needed, you know, more staff to come in terms of the equipment. And that was the time that COVID struck. And so when we submitted our proposal for renewal of the project, at that time, the Chinese government was more considering projects in the health sector. And so we couldn't actually continue with that project. But as I said, we were also able to get some funding from Canada to continue with that project. But that funding all came in a form of gathering knowledge from the project that we did. So we also went back to try and see the impact of what the interventions have brought to the communities and try and see how we can extend it to other African countries. You know, we did that for the Canadian government. And in fact, we are still trying to see if we can do more. And if the opportunity comes, we will do that. You know, it comes with cost. That is the main issue. Now, in terms of, you know, the fossil fuels that we are discovering in other developing countries, and the fact that the advanced countries have to allow us to use those resources. I mean, it has always come up as during the, you know, some of the global discussions. And is something that, we need to, it has to be allowed. And I think they are allowing that. But the issue is that, we always say that, they have developed and they developed with fossil fuels, and therefore, why are they now coming to us to use renewable energies and things like that? Now, that is one side of the argument. The other side of the argument is that, now, in terms of the impact of climate change, now, if you compare developing countries to advanced countries, which of them will have the capacity to withstand these challenges? Is that okay? So, as far, of course, we need to develop, we need to use fossil fuels and things like that. But we also have to be mindful of the fact that the impact of these fossil fuels, the impact that it will have on us as developing countries will be more severe in terms of even how we can withstand high temperatures. They can easily do that. We cannot. Okay? So we need to be mindful of that. But of course, the fossil fuels that we have discovered, we have to use them. Is that okay? Yeah. And any structure powered by renewable energy. As I said, is very young. And these things that we are talking about, even the agri-PV, we are talking about close to €1 million. And I don't know, you see, what is our income for the whole year. It's very expensive, and that is why we need support. So if you know any agency, any organization that can support us as an institution, we are happy to explore those options. I think that is best practices for monitoring and maintaining. Now, these things come out of energy audit or energy management program. So if you have an energy management program in place, now energy management program can easily come up with also monitoring mechanism. Is that okay? Now, those are recommendations that come out of the program. So energy management program will also help you to embark on energy efficiency education, for instance. Okay? Help you to come up with motion sensors and help you to come up with monitoring systems that will be able to tell you. You can have a monitoring system that will monitor the whole university so that, you don't need to even go to people's offices and visit different buildings to know what is going on. You can look at the energy management system on your screen, and you will see that, okay, this place is wasting energy, the lights have been left on, people have left, and so on. So those systems will come out of from your energy management program. I think that is all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prof. Jenfi. Yes, the range of availability. Yeah, the range of availability, we have the static range of availability. So what I was presenting was more or less the static range of availability of resources or reserves, if you like. We also have dynamic range of availability. Now, dynamic range of availability means that, it is possible to discover more oil. Is that not it? As we move into the future. It's possible to improve demand. Okay, that will reduce our consumption. It is possible that the technology will improve so that maybe places that are very difficult to even look for oil now, with improvement in technology, it will be possible to discover oil in those places, at those places. Now, when you take all these factors into account and you use that to account for your resources or reserves, then we have what we call dynamic range of resources. That means that the top, which is the reserves, is not the top is not fixed, and then the production will also not be fixed. And so you have dynamic range. And so you need some kind of modeling to be able to do that. And of course, if you take that into account, it is possible that the range of availability will extend a bit further than what I presented. Thank you. Thank you, Prof. Shall we give him a round of applause for such a wonderful presentation and question answering? Prof. Chair, as the program was going on, we had a team from the Ghana Education Service visiting us. And as part of the team, we have Mr. Gabriel Entry, the Regional Director of Ghana Education Service with us. Mr. Entry. Oh, okay. Mr. Entry is here. And then we have Mr. Luke Mensah, Mr. James Ankoma, and Madame Dorothy Nimo as part of the team. You are warmly welcome, and thank you for making it to this whole program. We also have some staff and students from the SDA Senior High School with us. And the student from SDA Senior High School, can we see you? Wave us. Great. About 30 of them are with us here. And they came along with Mr. Rafat Jibrit. Oh, okay. Thank you and welcome, Rafat. Yeah. Prof. Chair, at this point, it is time for us to invite the NPA team to take us through the presentation on liquefied petroleum gas, safety and accidents. So with your permission, shall we invite the team from National Petroleum Authority? A better clap offering, please, to take us through our friend LPG.
Thank you, sir. Vice Chancellor, I also want to firmly stand on the existing protocol to be on the safer side. Before we start our presentation, I want to make a testimony. I'm the Bron Regional Manager, National Petroleum Authority. I have grown to like UNER so much, although I didn't attend UNER. And the reason is not far-fetched. In fact, the few students we have had to do their internship and national service with us, in fact, they have proven to us beyond any reasonable doubt. They are hardworking and well-disciplined. So I would say that UNER students are well composed. In fact, for that reason, this year, we want to go 100% UNER students for our national service. And we think that it shouldn't end there. It shouldn't be only national service. We are making conscious efforts to make sure that few of them will be employed in National Petroleum Authority. So we are pushing very hard to make sure it comes to pass. In fact, our reasoning here is very simple. Government has a policy that we should, by the year 2030, half of a Ghanaian population should be using gas in our homes. But then, how do you use gas to ensure that we are safe? Gas is a good servant, but if you don't follow the protocol, it can be a bad master. And so we need to follow the safety tips of using LPG at homes. Because using the charcoal and firewood means that we have to cut down trees. And cutting down trees, as an environmental student, you know the impact on the environment. We can't continue to depend on that. And so we need to switch to the use of LPG. And so we need to use it at a safer environment. And so we need to follow the protocol. To do the presentation on the safe use of LPG this afternoon is Engineer Johnson Pablo Jr. from Gas Directorate to do the presentation this afternoon. So let's give it to him as he comes to do the presentation. And I can assure you that the presentation is going to be simple, it's going to be short as possible. And from here, whatever tips we are going to get, we need to transfer that one to our mothers, our fathers, our sisters at home so that we all be safe. Thank you very much.
Let's give it up for our Bodo Regional Manager. And I bring you greetings from our Chief Executive Officer, Lawyer Eduji Kujo Tamaklo, And then also, I want to associate myself with what the recommendation the Bono Regional Manager has given the UNES community. In my department or our directorate, we have some of the products from UNES, and I must say, their attitude to work is commendable. Very good attitude to work. Yeah. All right, so in recent times, especially in the beginning of this year, we heard of 3 explosions that occurred in some of the tertiary institutions. And I want to mention them, and which led to 3 fatalities. And so because of that, we have launched a national campaign to go to our tertiary institutions and educate us on safe LPG use. Prof has already spoken about emissions, and so I won't go too much into the details of emissions. So I'll just go directly into the crux of the matter. All right, so as manager rightly said, LPG is very efficient. Cooking with LPG is very fast, but then, if not handled properly, it can lead to accidents. All right, many of us use cylinders, but we don't know the cylinder also has certain parts. So as a student community, we just run through briefly. And so where you usually hold is called the valve ring or the valve protection ring. And then we have the foot ring or the base ring. Then the cylinder valve, the bunch, some people also call it the junction. Then the cylinder body or the shroud. Now, LPG comprises mainly of 2 compounds. Sometimes it's one. It can be butane alone, it can be propane alone, or sometimes a combination of both. We can use it for cooking, for heating, also in our labs. And then some of the properties. One key property I wanted to remember is that LPG is heavier than air. And so it can accumulate at lower points in an enclosed space. And I'll go into the details of that further in my presentation. And then it is highly flammable. That's why we use it for cooking. And I also want to mention that 40% of our LPG demand comes from in-country, comes from the Atuabo gas processing plant. And then we import the rest 60%. What are some of the risks associated with LPG? So explosions, when there's leakage, that can lead to explosions, and then also asphyxiation. When LPG leaks, you see that there'll be insufficient oxygen in the atmosphere, and so breathing becomes very difficult, and then also burns from contact with flames or hot equipment, and then cylinder explosions. So what are some of the few storage tips? Very importantly, the first thing I always say is that store your cylinders upright. And with this in mind, I want us to treat our empty cylinders like filled cylinders. Always bear this in mind. Even though your cylinder is empty, treat it like a filled one. Because whatever the case, there will be some gas molecules still in the cylinder. But because of temperature and pressure conditions, when you turn it on, it won't light. But there's still some compound in there. And then also, we should keep our cylinders away from direct sunlight or heat sources. And so we encourage that wherever you keep your cylinders should be well ventilated. There should be movement of air in and out. And recent times, you see some of the building designs, the cylinders are located in cages outside the kitchens. If you live in, say, a single room self-contained, wherever you position the cylinder, sure that the area is well ventilated. And then also, make sure you secure cylinders to prevent them from rolling on the floor. And then I see some consumers sometimes, when they fill their cylinders, they'll be rolling their cylinders on the floor like that. It's very bad. It's not a good practice. Then again, the cylinder accessories. It's important that we regularly check the hoses. It's important we check the shroud around the cylinder. And then there's a very simple home remedy we recommend. You can prepare a soapy solution. Just maybe you can use let me use Vortic bottle. This one, for example, you add some small washing powder in it, then it forms a soapy solution for you. You can just pour it around the shroud of the cylinder or the valve of the cylinder or any part of the cylinder. When you see the emergence of bubbles, that tells you what? There's a leak. There's a leak or there's a problem with your cylinder. You can do the same thing for the tube, the flexible tubing on the cylinder. This is the simple home remedy we can use to check for leaks. And then again, anytime you are turning off your gas fires, after turning it off on the stove, also turn it off on the regulator on that. It's very, very important. And so you see from the third picture on the slide, when it is in the horizontal position, it's in the off position. When it is vertical, it means on position. Let's take note of that. And then also, flammable materials. We shouldn't bring them close to gas fires, as this can also result in accidents. So, as I said, damaged or expired LPG equipment. Some of us, our cylinders have become objects of inheritance. Mothers pass it on to daughters. Daughters will also pass it on to a daughter. And then again, even students, when your seniors are graduating, then they will sell their cylinder to you. Cylinders actually have expiry dates. And practically 10 years after use, the cylinder is supposed to go to the cylinder manufacturing companies for requalification. And we know consumers, we don't do this. Some cylinders have expired. Some people have used cylinders for 30 years, 35 years, 40 years. And so because of that, we've launched what we call the cylinder recirculation model, where you take your old cylinder. When you are purchasing your gas, you go to what we call a cylinder exchange point. You take your empty cylinder, you just pay for the gas, and then you exchange it for an already filled new one. And then what we do is that we are taking all these cylinders from the market, we'll take it, and then we'll take it for refurbishment works. We'll do some tests on them. We'll run pressure tests, pneumatic tests, we'll run hydrostatic tests. When we realize the cylinders are no longer fit for purpose, we'll discard them. And then those that are fit for purpose, we'll refurbish them. And so under the CRM, we ensure that only safe and well-maintained cylinders will be in circulation. And then again, the policy leaves the maintenance of the cylinder as the sole preserve of what we call bottling plant companies. And so we have 4 of these companies. 3 are located in Tema, and then 1 is located in Kumasi. So we'll have carousels or automated bottling carousels where these cylinders will be filled from these bottling plant companies and then transported to called the cylinder exchange point. Cages, the cylinders will be in cages in our communities. Some will be at the filling stations, so you can just go and then you exchange your empty cylinder for an already filled one. We've already rolled out. We've started in Accra. We've also started in Kumasi. Very soon, some of these exchange points will also come to Sunyani. And if in case you even want to set up a cylinder exchange point, it's good. The Bono regional manager is here. Kindly take his contact after here. He will show you what to do to acquire the permit. Now, then again, there should be a safe distance between a cylinder and then your stove. What the NFPA 58 states is that at least 4 feet. There should be at least 4 feet distance. And so it's too close, as demonstrated in the second picture. As I said, always position the cylinder upright. Always position the cylinder upright. And then again, the stove should always be at an elevated angle above the cylinder. I know somebody about the campus gas, the cylinders that have the burner on top. I'll speak to that one as well. Now, so earlier in my presentation, I stated that LPG is heavier than air. And so in this case scenario, let's say there's a leakage here. Instead of the gas molecules going up, it will go down because it is heavier than air. And so if it is in a well-ventilated space, and then there's a leakage here, the molecules can easily move out through the window or through an open space around. But then, if you place your stove on the ground, and then there's a potential leakage. So if you place your stove here, at the same elevation with the cylinder, and then there's a potential leakage, you see that the molecules will start going down, and then when it goes down, there's fire, then what will happen? There will be an explosion. Take note of this. Now, with the campus gas, practically, the campus gas is not supposed to be used on an everyday basis. All right? The campus gas, maybe you're going for some meeting somewhere, some 2 days meeting, then you take it along, then use it to cook for a short time. But I understand that for financial and economic reasons, we try to use the campus gas. Some people have even used it for more than 20 years, which is not good. Which is not good. But what I would advise is that every precaution we are mentioning, as for the campus gas, please be much more vigilant. Take double precaution. But if you can, just buy the cylinder, buy the hose, and then get a stove. And then you have safe LPG. You won't have any issues with your LPG. Then detecting leaks. So, I mean, previously, we didn't have we didn't add any odorizers to gas. And so when there's a leakage, you will smell. Now we've added odorants. And so you smell, you have that smell, that rotten egg kind of smell. When you smell it, you know that gas has leaked in the space. And what do? Immediately you can open the windows and doors so that the molecules can just move out of the enclosure or the space. And then I mentioned the soap solution test, which we can use to check for leaks. Recently, someone told me that how he checks for leaks is that once he scents the gas, he will just take a match and then light it to see what will happen. If he lights, it means so the molecules are in the atmosphere. You can imagine what will happen when you do that. The effect, it will lead to accident. It can cause potential accident. So what do you do when you realize that there's a leakage or maybe there's a gas fire? If it is a small fire and you have a heavy blanket at home, you can put that blanket in water and then just throw it around the gas fire. It will blanket the fire. 3 elements from fire: fuel, oxygen, and heat. When you do that, you suffocate the fire of oxygen, and so it kills the fire immediately. If you have a fire extinguisher at home and you know how to use the fire extinguisher, you can also use that to extinguish the fire. When we go to the villages, we tell them when they have the cocoa bottle, they can use that one. They can just wet it and then use it to blanket the fire. Please, in case you see LPG fire and you know you can't handle it, please don't attempt to. Just shout for help. Shout for help, and then people can come to your rescue. And then again, when you notice there's a gas leak, open the windows and doors. The molecules can move out. And then if there's a need, you can evacuate if necessary. And then with regards to emergency response, I'm sure campus has some mechanisms in place, especially for evacuation. So you follow that evacuation procedure. And if there are no evacuation procedures in place, I'll charge some of the students to come up with some evacuation procedures for the university community. And then, as I said, never attempt to fix a major leak by yourself. Someone will ask me, how do I transport cylinders from the gas filling station or from the cylinder exchange point to your homes? If you have your own private car, it's good to place the cylinder at the back, not in the boot, not in the trunk, at the back, in the back seat, and make sure you bring the windows down so that in case of a potential leakage, the molecules can easily move into or disperse into the atmosphere. But then again, if you are using public transport or say a trolley or a trotro, you can sit in the trolley, make sure you sit close to the window, then you position the cylinder between your legs. You sit like this and then it's between your legs like that. You keep it in that upright position. Yeah, pragya to same. And then one very good way you can transport cylinders is using the tricycles, the aboboya tracks. And so with the CRM, what we are doing is that we call them specialized tracks that we've designed with certain specifications. And so these tracks will come to our communities, they'll come to our homes, and then you can just quickly swap your cylinder. So you don't even need to travel long distances to purchase your gas. So these are some of the initiatives government is putting in place to reduce the cost of, buying LPG equipment. So people who don't have cylinders can also come into the scheme. Once you get to the cylinder exchange point, they'll take your details, and then you are paying for the gas. You are not paying for the cylinder. It's just like going to a bar, and then you are buying Coke, and then you send an empty Coke bottle for a new one. That's the same approach we have adapted. And then, in case you notice a potential leak or you smell there's a leakage in your enclosure, please do not switch anything on. Don't turn on any switch, because sometimes our switches can give a little spark, and LPG is highly flammable. With that little spark, it can lead to a potential accident. And then I've been seeing there's a certain lady who sells kelewele in my area. I like kelewele a lot. When I get there, I see her put stones on her regulator. Every time she's putting stones on it, she says, oh, the regulator, please don't put stones on your regulator. Once you realize it is not working properly or you know it's defective, kindly change it. Let's change it. And then again, with the hose and then the cylinder, the home remedy I showed us, let's practice it at least maybe every Saturday. You can check for leakage, check the tube for leakage, check around the valve ring for leakage, check around the valve for leakages. And then again, with the tubes, based on use, within 2 years, you are supposed to change the tubing. we are supposed to change the tubing. But most of us don't do it. I know people have used their tubes for more than 10 years now. Please, it's not good. Let's change it. Because over time, it also becomes what? Very weak. And so let's change it. Now, when you are lighting your gas fire, what we advise or what we recommend is that you light your match first before you turn on the knob on the stove or the knob on the cylinder if you are using a campus gas. Because sometimes you go and turn on the knob, you want to light the fire, and then you receive a phone call, or maybe your son is misbehaving, you want to go and stop him. By the time you come, gas molecules are already in the enclosure, and then once you light it, it can cause a potential accident, or it can cause a potential damage. And then again, so the inspection, as I mentioned, and then use approved accessories. When it comes to the accessories for LPG equipment, the Ghana Standards Authority has an oversight over that. And so we work hand in hand with them to ensure that only safe accessories are on the market. But now with CRM, we are making sure we are closely monitoring it. And so the cylinders that will be operating under CRM will make sure the equipment, the tubes, the valves, everything is going to be certified and to be only the approved ones that will be on the market. And then in case of leaks, please kindly act fast. Act very, very fast. So safety is my responsibility. It is also your responsibility. When you see somebody doing wrong, you can prompt them, you can stop them, because whatever be the case, if there's an accident, he will not be the only one affected. All of us will be affected. And then let's be extra vigilant when using LPG. I see many people, you'll be cooking and then they are on the phone talking. You have your mobile phone on your ears, talking for more than 1 hour, 2 hours whilst cooking. The phone can generate heat, to generate radiation over time. If there's a potential leakage with the fire, then once the three meet, it will lead to what? An accident, or it can cause an accident. And then please, let's advise mothers, especially the infants, the young ones. Don't allow them to go near your stove or go near the cylinder, because sometimes they will go and be turning things on, turning things off. So let's monitor that. All right, so thank you very much. I've brought my presentation to a brief end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Johnson Babu and Mr. Joseph Kwame Jan, for this wonderful presentation. Do you have questions? Okay. Okay, let me start from the registrar.
Thank you very much, Engineer. When you were mentioning the parts of the cylinder, you see there is a small tie that is in the hole.
Yeah,
of
the black rubber sealing,
Good.
the sealing.
Good. How often are we to change it?
Okay. I know why that question is coming. Let me just respond quickly.
Okay.
So practically, if the seal we had on the markets were good, you can say a year. But to be sincere with you, most of the ceilings we have are not good. And so anytime you are going to change your cylinder, they will say you should change, because it becomes very, very hard. So it's not a good move. But with the CRM, we are ensuring that we'll bring the very good sealings. We'll make sure the LPG marketing companies import very good sealings, certified ones that will last over time. And so the issue of changing black rubber will stop. It will come to an end. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Engineer. There are some people going around in our communities, usually with this announcement that if you have 40 cylinder stoves or 40 gas cylinders and stove, they are there to repair and help you. Me, I had a very horrific experience. That first night, my house nearly got burnt because of their activity. I actually engaged one, and it was so horrible. So I want to know, what measures is NPA taking to regulate and certify such individuals? And then how can consumers verify the authenticity and credentials of these repairers? Thank you.
All right.
All right, thank you. So let's take other questions.
Another question.
Thank you very much. We are used to the metal gas cylinder. In recent times, we've also seen fiber cylinders.
Yeah.
How safe are these fiber cylinders for use in Ghana? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director. Okay. From Metro TV.
Please, boss, I want to find out. During your presentation, you stated that it is not advisable for me to place my cylinder close to where I am. There should be a distance. But my worry is that, why is it that we have a cylinder and a stove on it? And people use it to cook even to the extent of Banku. So, are we not endangering ourselves? And if so, what is the action of the MPA, since you are the regulator for this issue? So how are we addressing this? And again, I want to find out, in gas, do we have quality and fake gas? Because I've been hearing people say that if you go to this station, they have quality gas. So if there are, how will I know that this is a quality gas to buy? Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Last two questions.
Okay. Please, my question is, I've been hearing people, those selling the gas, recommend that, if you come in the morning, early in the morning, or late in the evening to buy the gas, you get it more and filled up than when you come maybe in the afternoon because of the hot temperatures. I would like to know how true that is. Thank you.
There are some two questions here which I really want to take. Doc.
Thank you very much. So I also want to find out, why is it that sometimes when you have some gas from different vendors, when you burn them, some will burn with a yellow and some will burn blue? Is there anything that makes one, so maybe they're following up to the question of quality, or whether the source of the gas is what is causing these discrepancies? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, engineer. My question has to do with the CRM. Somewhere last year, October, November, I visited some parts of Doma, and I realized that the CRM was in progress. It had started. But then in Sunyani, I haven't seen something like that. So I was wondering why some parts of Doma could start and in Sunyani, there's nothing like that ongoing.
Thank you. And then the last question.
Thanks so much for the opportunity. Please, Mr. Presenter, the cylinder recirculation model leads to some form of dissatisfaction among customers due to the fact that I bring my new cylinder to your end and I inherit an old, worn cylinder. How do we avoid this to create a bit of satisfaction among us, to encourage us? All right, thanks so much.
So
thank you.
I want to respond to your question very strongly. As I said, under CRM, only safe and well-maintained cylinders will be in circulation. I'm sure maybe with what you are, I don't know where you went to. In Sunyani. In Sunyani. Well,
her experience.
In Liberia. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So for MPA, we've studied some of those countries, and then I can tell you on authority that it is only safe and well-maintained cylinders that will be in circulation. And then can we bring my presentation up? There's a slide I want to show us. Yes. When you notice anything, even beyond LPG, even with our white products, with gasoline or diesel, when you notice anything of our any of the outlets we regulate, or any outlet. When you go to any gas filling station, you go to any retail outlet for petrol, if you have any issue, please call us. If you have bad customer service, call us. Cheating, if you feel you've been cheated, call us. If you suspect any quality of oil, anything you suspect, just call us. We have a call center with over 20 staff. They are waiting for your call. So you call us, and then we'll respond quickly to any issues you have. So manager will respond to the Doma pilot cylinder distribution outlet we have there, and then I'll take the rest of the questions.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. In fact, the CRM has started. It has been piloted for some period. And in Bono here, Doma, we have Puma Energy that is piloting it there. Although we have not actually rolled out, but we are understanding what is happening in Doma. We are giving ourselves a period to start the whole region. Some places, it is economically inviable to set up gas stations because of their numbers. So we will not get people to invest their money in gas refilling plants there. And so, because of the money involved. But with the CRM, you need small money, you need some small cage to use as the exchange point. So we want to make gas as accessible as possible. So with this model, wherever you are, irrespective of the population, we can access gas at those places. Because right now, when you go to our villages, some of the villages, they don't have access to gas because people are not willing to invest in those in the refilling plants in those areas because of the money involved. And we have also seen that currently, because of the development and our population, some of the refilling plants we have are very risky. So we need to use them as exchange point instead of refilling plant because of the activities surrounding them. And so we are going to close most of them to make us safe. Thank you.
Let's give it up for manager for that intervention. So, as I said earlier, if you want to do the CRM business, please see him. See him after. Yes, it's very, very important. Now, about the maintenance of cylinders, having some of these guys coming around and then just painting or respraying our cylinders. So, typically, when you see some form of corrosion on your cylinder, you'll be tempted to just go and then give it to some of these guys for them to spray and then paint it. When it's looking new, then you think you've solved the problem. But actually, you've masked the real problem. Corrosion doesn't only occur outside that. Inside the cylinder can also be corroding. But because you can't see, you think that your cylinder is fit for purpose. And so with CRM, when we bring those cylinders to the bottling plant companies, they'll run some tests, as I said. We'll run pressure tests, we'll do hydrostatic tests, we'll also subject the cylinders to pneumatic tests. So after these tests, when we realize it doesn't pass, then we discard it. But if it passes some, and then, so we will then take it again from the bottling plant companies to the cylinder manufacturing companies. There are 4 cylinder manufacturing companies, thankfully, in Ghana. And then they have all the equipment there for refurbishment. And so please, let's desist from giving our cylinders to anybody, coming around to just repaint or spray it for us. It's not a good practice. And so that's why we've launched the CRM to cure some of these anomalies in the system. And then he also asked what we are doing to certify such people. We've not certified anybody to do requalification or anybody to do refurbishment of cylinders apart from the 4 cylinder manufacturing companies we have. One is Awarios, the other one is Sigma in Tema, and then APEB also in Tema, and then Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company. These are the 4 companies we have that we've certified to do requalification or refurbishment of cylinders and then production of cylinders. And then again, I was asked the question about steel cylinders and then fiber cylinders. both of them, what is there. All right, so both are good. They are fit for purpose. Even with the CRM, we have fiberglass cylinders in the scheme. Now, the only difference is that in case there is an explosion, the steel cylinders will explode, but will just explode like that, boom. But then for the cylinders, instead of exploding, it implodes. So like a can of Coke, if there's an explosion, it will just, you see, like that. To just implode like that. I wish I had a picture to show us what I mean. And so it will just implode instead of exploding and then scattering all over the place. So that's the difference between the two. And then also for the fiberglass cylinder, you realize that handling it is lighter. It's also lighter. And then sometimes you can see the liquid gauge in there. You can see the level of in the cylinder. So these are just the differences, but they are all safe for use. And then about gas quality. As I said, I mentioned that LPG is a combination of both propane and butane. And then sometimes, some producers have the ratio in different quantities. So, for example, some producers, maybe they can have 80% butane, 20% propane. Other times, 50-50. Some too can do 90% butane, maybe 10% propane. And so the burning characteristics might differ a little bit, but there's not too much because product comes into the country and then product is distributed across all the LPG marketing companies. It's not like Goel will bring a different product and then Puma is bringing a different product. The vessel will bring it and then it will be discharged into a tank and everybody will for their codes inside. So it means that whatever comes to the retail outlet, it's not just one company that has it. Lots of other companies have the same product. But then again, there are certain cylinders that have issues. So there are some cylinders that is no longer fit for purpose. And so it won't bend smoothly like very good cylinders. So that's why I mentioned that cylinders have expiry dates. And when you look at the valve ring or the base ring of the cylinder, there's a date on it. That date is the date of manufacture. I mean, if your cylinder is not obsolete, you see the date stamped on the cylinder. Just add 10 years to it, then you know when your cylinder would expire. And then again, so checking for gas quality. The MPA, we have a department in charge of quality, and they are doing a very good work. And they are always on the field, checking to make sure that the product that has been discharged into the tanks, into the US, across the retail outlets, there is no adulteration, and then they've not compromised on quality. And so our guys every time to check. So at the point of entry, we check. But even at the retail outlets, our inspectors are always on the field to check and make sure that whatever you are served is of good quality. And so, as I mentioned, if you have any issue, call our consumer lines or our consumer complaint lines, and then we would quickly attend to you. I want to check if I've exhausted all the questions. Okay, so somebody also asked me what time is more appropriate to fill your cylinder, whether during the hot day or maybe in the evening or in the night. Well, for gasoline, we all know the properties of gasoline, and so we recommend that when you are going to buy gasoline, you go in the evening, very early in, because it's highly, volatile. So it's good you do that. But for LPG, I said in my presentation that too much sunlight is not good for LPG, right? And so, fine, you can go early in the morning or maybe late in the evening, but it doesn't have anything to do with the quantity that will be in the cylinder. It will not reduce or otherwise increase, right? So at any point in time, you can go and then purchase your gas. Then our correspondent from Metro TV, he asked me a question when I mentioned the safe distance between the stove and then the cylinder. I said that according to the National Fire Protection Agency 58 standards, there should be a safe distance of at least 4 feet between the cylinder and then the stove. Then there are people who use the campus gas. So I mentioned earlier that the campus gas is not to be used on an everyday basis. It's something for temporary use. So if we can, Let's stop using campus gas on an everyday basis, if we can. It's very important, so that we purchase the cylinder, the tube, the stoves, you purchase separately, and then you fix it nicely like that. It's better to use it that way. But if you are using the campus gas, make sure that you don't cook with it also in a very enclosed place, enclosed space. Make sure you don't cook with it in an enclosed space. Make sure that wherever you are cooking with the campus gas, there is movement of air. It is well ventilated. I'm not saying we shouldn't use it at all, but we can. But at any time you're using it, please just be extra cautious, be extra vigilant with using the campus gas. And practically, you realize that if you use the campus gas for a very long time, you see that the burner and then the stove, the junction between it becomes very weak. Sometimes when you are even turning on the knob, you see that the whole burner is turning. That tells you there's a problem. And so please, let's take note of that. Any other question? All right, I see one hand. Okay, two hands at the back.
Still have questions? The hands, please. Okay. So this is the last set. Okay. So.
Okay. Thank you very much. Please, I want to know the recommended standard for the ratio between the butane and the propane. Assuming other companies will just dump anything in the country, what is the recommended standard so that at least you will know that maybe one is not over the other one?
So truthfully speaking, with the combination, in whatever ratio or proportion it is, it's flammable. It can burn. It can burn in any ratio. Sometimes it can be entirely butane, and it will burn very well. It can be entirely propane. It will also burn very well. So there is no issue. The ratio doesn't affect the burning properties at all. It doesn't. What affects it more, much more, is the cylinder. Most of the cylinders are not fit for purpose. And some of the cylinders, it accumulates a lot of air. And so sometimes when you even turn it on, it won't light. You light your match, it is not lighting, but there's gas inside because there's been a lot of accumulation of air in the cylinder. And so at the bottling plant companies, what we do is that once you bring your empty cylinder, which you might think is empty, which is not actually empty, what we do is that would put a tube in it and then discharge every air. We'll empty it of whatever before we run it through the carousels for it to be filled. So that's what we do.
Thank you very much for your presentation. My question goes to the leakages.
Sure.
Whenever you have a leakage, how long should it take for a person to light fire after the leakage has been fixed? And also, the next question is, whenever you go to the gas retailers, anytime the cylinder is full, there is always an extra gas flowing out of the nozzles. So I'm going to ask, isn't that dangerous for our lives too?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So that is the last question.
All right, so
okay. Abigail.
Abigail's.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Please, we've heard a lot of stories about people using mobile phones in their kitchen whilst they have their stove or they are cooking. And then we want to find out if maybe you've been able to authenticate such information to be very sure that it's as a result of picking a call or making a phone call during such time, so that at least it will give us some decision. I mean, we'll be able to take certain informed decisions. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. There is a girl here who wants to ask a question.
Okay, so please, my question is, there are some people that they always place the cylinder at the back of the house and connect it to the manhole and now connect it to the stove. Please, is there any dangers attached to it?
All right. Thank you. Over to you, engineer.
So I'll take the very last question. So I said that when you store your cylinders outside the house in the cage, is a very good practice. There is nothing wrong with it. Ideally, that's what we are supposed to do. But because of how some of our houses are, I mean, you can't do that. And so I stated that wherever you position it, make sure it's a well-ventilated space. And then the question about filling cylinders at the gas filling stations. There's one thing I left out. You know, after you bring your gas home, your cylinder home, after filling, please allow it to settle for at least 20 minutes before you start using it, because of the nature of some of our roads, very bumpy roads. So you see, in the cylinder, we call something ullage or emptiness. We allow for some space in the cylinder to allow for what? Liquid expansion, because it's liquid in the cylinder, and so it expands. So that space allows the gas to expand and leak or come out of the cylinder. And note that the gas in the cylinder is pressurized, and so it's always looking for a small space to come out. And so once it gets a little opening, it will just leak or come out of the cylinder. So it's important when we are handling cylinders. And so when you go to the filling station, you say you want to buy maybe 100 cedis, or the attendant tells you with 100 cedis your cylinder is full. Then you pay for 100 cedis, and then you say, oh, I have some extra 30 cedis. So would they add more gas to the one in the cylinder for me? Please, when you go and they tell you 3 kg, this is the amount for 3 kg, that means that is the maximum to allow for the emptiness. Of course, there's that there, but don't attempt to overfill the cylinder. It can lead to accident, it can lead to leaks, because it will cause the cylinder to be over-pressurized, all right? It's very, very important. And then my brother also mentioned the nozzle they used to dispense. Maybe after they fill the cylinder for you, some will be dripping a bit. Yeah, for that, it's because it's a dispenser. Even with the at the retail, the same thing happens. A little can, yeah, that's not an issue at all. That one is not a problem. But then we encourage that at the filling stations, the fuel attendants who dispense that are always in PPE, the right personal protective equipment, because too much propane in the eyes, it can cause redness of eyes. I mean, the night they can't. So our inspectors on the field, when they go on inspection rounds, they make sure that the guys are in their right PPE. Just that we are not there 24 hours. And so sometimes once our guys leave the filling stations, then they remove them and continue to do the normal things. And so the consumer line I put there, when you see that, just call us, and then we would attend to you. Then with the mobile phones issue. And so, yes, this I know where Madam is bringing the argument from. But then again, we know that the mobile phones, some of them, they release certain radiations. Not all, some. Some have that, some can heat up to almost about 30, 40 degrees C, if you check. And so it becomes a heat source. And so once there's oxygen there and then there is some leakage of gas, it can result in what? An explosion or fire. And so it is important, as much as possible at all times, avoid using your mobile phones whilst cooking. It's not advisable. So to avert the possibility of a potential accident in case of a gas leakage. So I think, have I done justice to all the questions? I think I've answered all our questions.
Yes.
All right. And so to conclude, please, let's advise our parents at home. LPG, it is safe for use. Many people are afraid of using LPG because of the potential accidents, but it is safe. When you follow these safety protocols, you use your LPG safely, and it won't bring you any problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you. MPA team, thank you very much for your time in the presentation. Prof. Chair, all too soon, we have come to the end of this presentation series. There are some few announcements. After the program, there will be a group photograph outside. So let's all make sure that we are part of the group photograph. And Mr. Gabriel Entry, the regional director, thank you so much for coordinating and bringing the students along to listen to this presentation. And thank you for responding to our invitation. At this point, we invite the chairperson to give us his closing remarks. Shall we welcome Professor Elvis Asaribediako to the podium?
The Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Onasa Fudechi, Registrar, our keynote speaker, Professor Samuel Jamfi, the deans, directors, heads of department, and the regional director for NPA and the team. All too soon, we've come to the end of this interesting presentation. You all agree with me that we have learned a lot. I think it's important to thank the initiator of this series, the registrar for this initiative, then the committee that also selected this topic, and the presenter, Prof. Thank you very much for this insightful presentation. And of course, regional manager and your team, we've learned a lot. I'll start from small comment from the petroleum. I think our problem with the use of, you see, Ghanaians are addicted to mobile phone. And so, please, as they've told us, I want to encourage all of us to desist from the use of mobile phone whilst cooking using gas. Because we are told there are two things. The guidelines, safety guidelines, generally, safety guidelines for both gas and petroleum is that do not use mobile phone, close to where the hazardous materials are. And therefore, let's avoid it. Because we are told mobile phone, when you receive phone calls or you're ending phone calls, you are charging, give some sparks that can, and in case there are any leakage, that little sparks can catch fire. And so please, I know we are addicted, and Ghanaians, when we are addicted to something, we always forget the negative effect. Besides, we also told that these mobile phones also have some static charges, these electrostatics. And that can be discharged in the form of sparks, which can also cause some ignition. So let's avoid that. The use of my little chemistry. Also for propane gas with a C3, H it, yeah, because, and then the butane gas. If you do the oxidation, you realize that with the case of butane, which is C4H and H10, I think I'm right to my chemistry. Yeah. Energy is higher, and it's true. So if the LPG gas is full of butane, energy per liter is high. And when you have a higher energy output, it means you're able to burn, produce the output for you. Burning can be efficient. So I think it's important, this one. Therefore, if possible, with NPA, we must advocate for higher butane than the propane because of the energy output. That is also true. Thank you very much. So my chemistry is still working. Right. And Register asked a question about the rubber bank seal. And you mentioned, your response is that some is fake. And NPA, you are an authority. So don't you have the power to regulate the, I don't think they produce them in locally. Okay. So therefore, why won't you advocate for those who are the good quality? By saving, because you're talking about gas. So you can save the people. I hope you understand. So that is something that we need to look at. But we thank you very much for this. Prof. Jamfi, the energy, we've learned a lot today. Seriously, we've heard a lot, and I'm sure not only on campus, but all of you are going to implement these energy efficiency, things that we've learned at home, because we can save a lot. I was so surprised to hear. And Felix also added, but what we can save, saving about every dollar, energy efficiency. So if you're able to use energy efficiency or energy efficient, we can save money. So we don't complain of poverty. And these are our savings. So let us use it. And so I think it's important. We've learned a lot. The students, you're here at schools and various places, both the SHS, and let us all try to apply what we've learned. Let's implement it to save resources. Someone has a question I need to add. There was a question as why the university, we don't have a single building with energy. I think it's, and your response is, yes, we've started, isn't it? We are young university. You see, one thing we should also note, we have taxed them. First, the energy, even though we are pioneers in terms of, because I'm told that even all the universities that run energy, renewable energy related programs, our products are managing them and other places. Energy was even just a department, under School of Engineering. And 2021, we decided to make that one a school. So that was a step. That decision was taken to ensure that we place more emphasis on energy. After all, the name of this institution is University of Energy and Natural Resources. We used to have School of Natural Resources, but there was no School of Energy. So now we have School of Energy. And Prof. Jamfi was the founding dean. So that was the first answer. The next thing, as he rightly said, we've taxed them. You remember he mentioned that they produce policy. In the university system, everything must start with a policy approved by the council, and then you have a legal, power. As a vice chancellor, I derive my powers or management powers from the council, and so they've started, and they are doing the consultation. We've tasked them to come out with the energy policy, and so now that they are almost through with it, it will come. Then we take it to the council before we start the implementation. And I know the monitoring is gone. Someone mentioned of it. The monitoring, the and all those things are part of it. They changed using. They need to move from various strategies in LED, all those things, strategies. So they have a package for that, and is yet to go through. We've also taxed a building committee, a building policy, and Prof is also part to ensure that even our building is such that you don't need a lot of lighting, you don't need a lot of air condition, because I taught at Agri Memorial Secondary School, and they have a what do you call it, assembly hall. A new one, and there was no air condition, but when you live in it, you feel like there's air condition, and so they are working towards that, having solar and all this. Prof rightly mentioned we are in the state, we are talking, and you want to see, because I've been worrying them. I said, look, at School of Energy or University of Energy, you might say, a lot of solar PV and all that, and they are working seriously towards it. And so that is it. To add to Prof. response, we are aware of it and we are working towards it. We want to be very efficient. In fact, since we are producing the best, it should reflect. And we hope that within 2 years, you'll see a lot of change in this university. Thank you very much. So having said this, I want to thank you, the presenters, and thank all of you for your time. And please, let's ensure that safety is everyone's responsibility. Always be regulated when using LPG. And also, know that we need to ensure efficiency in the use of our resources. Let's change. We save more money if we change every 5 years. You see, okay, I can, since I'll say, my deep freezer was so old. I gave it to the basic school, but it was too old. So I think as a university, we need to also act seriously, and ensure that we are efficient. Having said this, thank you very much for your attention, and I hope that we hope that the committee will continue to, bring such insightful, educative programs like we are hearing today. Thank you, and may God bless you.
Thank you, VC, for chairing this meeting, this presentation series for us. There is another announcement that there is item 13. So don't rush to go. When we are done, item 13 is in front there for all of us to enjoy. On this note, I want to say a very big thank you to all of us, especially our presenters, for making time to prepare and present at this Registrar's Office monthly presentation series. Thank you for the research that you have shared with us. And I want to thank staff and students from SDA Senior High School, the Regional Director of Education, the Regional Manager for MPA, the Pro-Vice Chancellor, the Registrar and VC, and everyone who made it to this presentation series. Thank you, and God bless us all. Shall we now invite the University Chaplain to say the closing prayer? The group photograph will be taken in front of the building.
Thank you. Prof. Chair, you just had an A in my upcoming end of semester examination. I was explaining same to Dr. Siriam at the back, the butane and the propane factor, and you just explained it here. Prof, are you cool? Shall we humbly rise in prayer? We pray in the name of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing a successful close this seminar and this important discourse we have had on our energy efficiency and also on our LPG. We thank you so much for the presenters and the insights you have given us through them. And thank you for all suggestions and all contributions that came from all of us. Thank you for the organizers of the program, and we thank you for its sustainability. This beautiful thing we have seen today will not end here. You shall continually be with us and add up unto our knowledge anytime we gather like this. Many have been said, Lord. Bible says, unless you watch over the city, in vain will the watchmen watch. We therefore pray in our various homes, in our various endeavors, keep us safe from every form of harm in the name of Jesus. And we pray that the next time we gather, we shall all be alive, and we shall say it is your doing and marvelous in our sight. Let this, O God, gathering open greater doors for the university. Having heard how our students are doing out there, we can only say that continue to be with our students, continue to let them be a shining light unto others, and let effectual and great doors that no man can shut be opened unto our students and the university at large. We have asked all this not in any ordinary name, but in the powerful name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Let me hear your redeeming amen.
Thank you. So we hold on for management, the Vice Chancellor, the Registrar, and Pro-Vice Chancellor to leave before we go. Yes. There will be a group photograph in front of the building, so